Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Q&A with Fred, Volume 46. I hope that I can sound enough perky to make this Q&A bearable to listen through. I have recently been a little bit tired and beaten down, which is sort of the reason why there hasn't been a Q&A recently. I don't really have an excuse. I suppose the excuse I can use is anxiety. And of course, I've mentioned it several times that I have a few issues with anxiety, but it also, it just feels like an excuse after a while. But that's kind of what happened. I have these moments where I just can't think straight. It becomes very difficult for me to articulate anything. And at those moments, I don't really. Well, even though I feel as if perhaps I should upload something, I don't feel comfortable with anything I record. So it gets kind of difficult for me to get out of those moments. And yeah, that's why it hasn't been any kind of Q&A recently. Also, yeah, I run out of steam a little bit. I mean, I do want to try and get back into some kind of podcasting. I talked a lot about that with Theodore, and we've probably going to try to do something together, but we want to have some kind of idea before throwing ourselves into that. So yes, but I'm back here today now with you, holding your hand inappropriately. You wonder whether or not I will let go. You notice that my hand is sweating a fair bit. You hear me breathing into your neck, and you feel very uncomfortable. You keep looking around to see if there's any exits that you can run out of, but at the same time there's something inside of you, something inside your heart that feels oddly comfortable. You feel as if there's something about this moment that is sweet and delicious, and you just want to reach your head in and lick it. You want to lick this moment. You want to be a part of this moment. You want to enter into some kind of symbiotic relationship with this moment. You want to be a part of it. You want to be your hope more than ever that Hinduism is right and there is a nirvana, because you want the hope and the opportunity that at one point you will join in some kind of spiritual oneness with this thing. You want it. You want us. You want us to be one. And I can give you that, my dear. You listen to me. Come to me. Come into this hole. I have you where I want you. Anyway, let's talk about Pokemon. Yay! Are there any people out there in the world playing Pokemon? I'm not sure. It went out of fashion when I was 10. But I'm sure some people still play Pokemon. And what I did recently is that I noticed in one of my boxes, many boxes that I have lying around my dwelling place, I noticed my old Game Boy Advance, and in it, in the actual machine, lied Pokemon Ruby. And I played it many eons ago, and I remember being quite fond of that game. So I said to myself, I am not the sort of person people expect to play Pokemon. I'm far too sophisticated and intelligent and handsome to play Pokemon. I play sophisticated indie games and look at art and drink champagne and laugh at all the Pokemon players for being infantile. I certainly can't be one of those. But I decided that it would be fun to relive some nostalgia. I mean, I can allow myself to enter into that childlike mood. So I booted up the game, and I noticed that the save I had a character with a rather rude name. When I logged onto that character and noticed that all the Pokemons had quite similarly rude names, and I kind of realized that as an infant, as this young little child playing Pokemon Ruby, I was clearly quite blue and not quite as sophisticated as I am now. So I decided to start a new game, and I have been playing it quite frequently this last few days. And I know that there are new versions of Pokemon out, and that all these cool kids are playing X and Y. I'm not sure why they call it X and Y and not, I don't know, maroon and turquoise, happy and sad. I'm playing Pokemon Sad. It's all sad. It's all sad Pokemons. And then you have your friend playing Pokemon Happy. Together you form the Pokemon Manic Depressive generation. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But so I have been playing the game. My big Pokemon is, I picked Mudkip because I believe there's a meme attached to that Pokemon, and I could somehow perhaps understand that meme better if I have first-hand experience with Mudkip. Whatever he's called. Is it Mudkips? Mud something like that? The sort of froggy thing, the water mud thing. And then I have captured a few other Pokemons. I have consciously tried to avoid capture a few Pokemon. What annoys me with Pokemon games is that when you start, you are always subjected to the same kind of low-level garbage critter Pokemons. The same old bug Pokemon, the same old pigeon, the same old rat, or whatever. It's the same going back to the first two games and to the more recent ones. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat, whatever the pink or purple rat was called, the Pidgeot, and this game has like a swallow named Swallow or something like that. It's completely insane. I mean, the Pokemon creators apparently look at the real world and get all these strange inspirations, and I can't explain it. I mean, this is weirder than many of the indie games that I play. But yeah, it's the same game released over and over again. But you could argue that if they get it right, why should they change? Why should they do anything different? Because it's fun. It's fun to play the same thing over again. Repetition is hilarious to go through. I'm not sure if I've told this here on the QnA, but I can, talk about it. This is not a question, but, it makes sense to just say whatever I have on my mind. I've always said that Q&As is basically a vlog, so it's a vlog. The first Pokemon game I ever had, and this was back in the day, it was Pokemon Blue. I believe in Japan they originally released Pokemon Red and Green, and Blue was one of those strange things that was made for the Western market. I don't know, I never bought Pokemon Blue, I found it. Yes, I found it in my garden. Me and my family, I had just recently gotten a a Game Boy Color. I had recently gotten it, and I was quite attached to it. And me and my family, we lived sort of out in not quite a countryside, but just sort of outside the sort of main bit of civilization. I could walk to my school, but it took me about half an hour. I mean, I kind of lived in the forest. And me and my family would go out and mend the garden now and then. That was my parents' way of making sure that my sister and I got exercise. So we were walking around our house, looking at the grass, making sure that there isn't any kind of weeds or awful things growing. So by the side of our house we had a bit of bushery, a shrubbery, I suppose you could call it. And my mother noticed in this shrubbery that there seemed to be some kind of weird plastic bit. So she walked over and picked it up, and it turned out to be a Pokemon Blue. The game, the sort of cart, whatever you call it, the cartridge, the kind of plastic thing that they put into the Game Boy, and it starts up all the colors, even though Game Boy Blue only had one color. But, you get what I'm trying to say. So, my mother showed it to me and said, well, you recently got a Game Boy. Can you play this? And I completely beamed up. my god, a Pokemon game, that's all I ever wanted. And I became quite attached to this little thing. And you might say, well, my mother clearly bought it to me and decided to surprise me. And she decided to make it a little bit funny, so she said she found it. But I didn't have a box with it, and this sort of piece of paper attached to the bit of plastic was kind of worn out a bit. Kind of looked as if it had been lying in some dirty little moist bit of dirt for a few days. So when I put it in, there was a save file, and it didn't have a name. It just had 3 question marks. So I plugged it in and I began playing. I didn't get to choose a Pokemon at the start of the game. I was just given a Pikachu with no face. It was just blank. And whenever I would go into combat, the game would turn it off. The game would turn off. There would just be black screen. And when I started the game up again, I would be back, and I would have beaten the trainer or whatever that was challenging me. And I would go through the entire game with this one Pikachu, and I couldn't, of course, capture any Pokemons, because anytime I went into the combat, the game just turned off and then turned back on again. The Pokemon was dead, so I couldn't capture anyone. So I had this one Pikachu, but I could go through every kind of trainer, every kind of gym, because this Pikachu was unbeatable. And then I got to the end of the game, and suddenly the Pikachu turned around, and the game turned black. And when I turned the game on again, it had completely erased itself. Yeah, no, that didn't happen. There was one save, but I didn't look at it. And I kind of, upon the sort of retrospect, I kind of look back in that and think that it was very stupid of me not to see the save file. Because even if, I mean, not to say that it was some kind of creepy pasta type thing, presumably not, but I kind of think, well, it was very, I should have seen if there was any kind of rare Pokemons that person I captured, just to see, instead of just immediately delete it. But I did, and then I started a new game. I've lost that game a long time ago in some kind of mess. I also had the Pokemon Crystal, whatever it was called, and leading up to, Ruby. And yes, I don't really have any other memories of Pokemon. I just find it kind of strange how I have that, because I don't know. I mean, there must have been some kind of kid, presumably with one of their parents, walking through the forest, because I am a Swede, and Swede likes to ramble through the forest, and quite often parents will bring their small little children out to see nature. And this child must have carried his Pokemon game and his Game Boy with him, which, Game Boys are supposed to be portable, so I suppose that's understandable. And they must have walked through the forest and seen our house, thought that they needed to rob us. So they no, and they must have just thought, well, we can pass by this house, go down to the street, and then go home. And that's reasonably fine in Swedish culture. We aren't that panicky about private property and stuff like that. I mean, you can have strangers just pass by your lawn if they want to get past. And this kid must have had something wrong with it. This odd kid must have, just thrown the Pokemon game into the bushes or whatever. I'm not sure, but there must have been something like that going on. And or it was a ghost. Well, I suppose I do have time to answer one question and actually make this a Q&A. So this comes from future Queen of Westeros. Apparently some kind of Game of Thrones reference, that, isn't it? Westeros, that's Game of Thronesy thing. Let me see here. I'm gonna Google for Westeros. Yes, that's a song. Well, I do apologize for the fans by saying a Game of Thrones thing when it is clearly a Song of Ice and Fire thing. The books are far better than the TV series. Um, but she asked, I presume it's a she, because it says queen, or at least identify as the she. It could be a small little boy wanting to be a queen, and that is fine. I do indeed encourage that. I want more transsexual queens. The future queen of Sweden will not be a transsexual queen, and I think that's upsetting. I would prefer our queen to choose to go through some kind of hormone replacement therapy in order to make us more progressive as a constitutional monarchy. Anyway, that's rambling. But she asks, my cousin is an actress and I'm going to see her play today, but I just want to stay in bed and never move. I have been on the stage a few times in my life. Not really a reputable stage though. I was quite young and it was the local theater in my small little suburb. I didn't get great reviews because I didn't really get any reviews. They ignored me largely, I would say. But I was the only boy in our little theater group, and I got a lot of joy from it. I got a lot of respect and admiration from the audience, because I showed a level of enthusiasm that they don't really expect from straight boys. Straight boys aren't really supposed to be that into theater and musicals at a young age, but I was, and I'm still straight. I'm sorry, boys. I'm not available. This gets into such terrible rambling, but if your cousin was anything like me, she's not going to have her life changed by this wonderful acting opportunity. But she still wants respect from her family and her audience. And you could be part of the audience, and I think you could also see yourself as being part of her family. You could be there for her, you can make her feel good about it. She's not going to get some kind of great career or reviews in the local newspaper. She's going to be ignored. This is going to be a very small part of her life, but at least she will be happy for a few minutes or seconds or milliseconds, depending on how young your cousin is. If your cousin is a young little child, she probably wouldn't even notice. I mean, time passes so very quickly when you're a child. I mean, who cares what happens day to day, you know? But if she's slightly older, this might be quite an important little point in her day, her week, her everyday life. So please go to see your little cousin perform and be proud of her. Feel as if she actually has accomplished something. Of course, I am not entertaining the possibility that your cousin is a well-famous actress. If your cousin is Bette Midler. Bette Midler? Why was that a first actress? I was going to mention Meryl Streep, but for some reason I just said Bette Midler. Anyway, if your cousin is Meryl Streep, then presumably she doesn't need your help. She is such a famous and critically acclaimed, successful actress that she can just do whatever she wants to. I mean, I'm just... I am sorry to any Bette Midler fans who are outraged at my own surprise at mentioning Bette Midler. I'm sure that you think Bette Midler is a perfectly fine actress to use as an example. I'm just a little bit surprised by it myself. And yes, that's enough for today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for having patience. Thank you all for being so beautiful, so fucking beautiful. I mean, so sexy with your curves, your beautiful bosoms. Yes, even you boys, you have beautiful breasts. Show them off. Be proud over who you are. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.